We have the talent there. We play very well, coach well, win some close games to try to be in position to win the conference championship. So that's a different thing. The different goal this year is South Carolina's going to try to win the conference championship.
Coach, you said you've done it for 15 years. It still seems surreal when you're walking through here and you got all these cameras and all the buzz and everything.
Yeah, there wasn't that many cameras back in 1990. That was my first year. But it's still the anticipation of football season. This sort of kicks it off, gets everybody talking completely about college football, SEC, and so forth. And yeah, there's nothing quite like going to the stadium, the ballpark, with a full house around the SEC and try to beat your opponent.
How much has the level of coaching changed?
The level of coaching, well, they're paid a lot more than they used to be. I know that. There's always been a lot of good coaches, but there's better teams now. There's no question. There's a lot more teams capable of winning the conference, I think, now than in the early 90s.
Why do you feel so confident about your team? Is it just strictly talent?
Well, I didn't say I felt like confident. I'm sure our goals are the same as Florida, Georgia, and Tennessee. I'm sure those three teams feel like they can win the SEC, and the ball bounces their way and so forth. And because our talent level is much improved from the first 2 years. Our recruiting this past year, as most of you guys know, was ranked 4th by ESPN.com, 6th by Lemming and Rivals. And that's the highest I've heard ever at South Carolina. Now, those guys are only freshmen, so obviously they may not contribute all that much yet. But we return, I read where we returned 10 starters on defense. But those 10 probably won't be starting this year because we got guys that can beat them out. That's going to happen. We've recruited better players than what they used to start for us. And offensively, we've got a 5th-year quarterback, Blake Mitchell. We've got 2 running backs, Corey Boyd, Mike Davis. I think they're together as good as any 2 I've coached together. They're very good backs. They can make yards, catch the ball, and so forth. But defensively, we're much improved than what we were, I think, first 2 years. We were 9th in the conference the first 2 years. If we can just get in the top half, around 4 to 6, something like that, that certainly should give us a chance maybe to win some of those close games that we lost last year.
Coach, is this program where you thought it would be after 2 years being here?
I think it's maybe better. I don't know. When I got to South Carolina, Lee Corso said you couldn't recruit there. So that's the first thing he's wrong about. Yeah, when Lee said we couldn't win there, he really meant to say we couldn't out-recruit Florida, Georgia, and Tennessee. Last year we were right there with those schools. Maybe didn't out-recruit them, but we were right there with them. And if our talent level is very similar with our competition, then obviously there's no reason why we should not be able to beat them. But the talent level is what gives us hope and confidence. And we got a chance to win the conference one day soon. If not this year, our goal next year will also be to win the conference. But of course, this is this year now. We'll worry about the future when it gets here. But obviously, if we play well, coach well, win some close games, we feel like we got a chance.
Is the close games a bit the middle?
Well, now we've won some close games too. People say, Coach, y'all have had close games forever, and that's probably true at South Carolina. And we won some close ones our first year in the conference. Won some out of conference this year. The Clemson game was certainly one that could have gone either way, 31-28. Our bowl game, the 44-36 game, could have gone either way. So we won close ones. We just got to make plays and not allow funky tip balls to go to the opponents, which happened a couple of real close ones last year. Obviously, some block kicks, illegal procedure on an offensive lineman cost us one down in the swamp. But we got to play better and we got to coach better. Simple as that. We have no excuses, and just got to do it all a little bit better.
Coach, what's the status of Quentin Richardson?
Status of Quentin, he's currently suspended from the team. He's probably scheduled to rejoin the team in preseason practice if everything works out.
We just had Derek McFadden here. You got a good dose of him last year. What do you think of Derek?
Oh, he's as good a running back as there is in the country. Again, I think Corey Boyd and Mike Davis are 2 very good ones that we have also. But yeah, McFadden, he'll be a Heisman candidate, no question.
Coach, LSU might be picked to win this league. You're going to go to Tiger Stadium for the first time since back in March, where you won every time.
We know that's going to be a difficult game, and I was talking in there earlier that LSU possibly had the best team in the conference last year. They led the conference in offense, defense, almost every statistical category. They had the best game, but they didn't play very well at Florida or at Auburn, and so they really didn't win anything except the bowl game at the end, and was highly ranked. So sometimes the best team doesn't always win the conference championship. And I know in Florida some years we won it when we probably weren't quite the best, and some years we didn't win it when we were the best. So you got to play it all out and see what happens.
On that note, what's it take to win a national championship? Is it luck? You got to have a little luck. What are the ingredients?
Yeah, I think you got to have a little bit of luck coming out of the SEC, but it can be done. And the conference championship game can be very helpful. I hear some of our coaches complain that that's another game you got to win to get to it. But in '96, it helped win us the national championship because we had the extra win over the teams that didn't have the championship game. Ohio State, they only had one loss. And we were able to get a rematch because of the championship game to be in position to win the national championship. And of course, this year Florida, it really helped them beating Arkansas to get the extra win and get the final game against Ohio State. So anyway, that's a fun game. And at South Carolina, all we really concern ourselves about is trying to get to that game and win it. And that would be enough to make us do somersaults down in 5 points and then Vista area if that could happen.
Coach, what do you think about Nick Saban coming back in terms of another coach in the conference who's won a national championship?
Well, obviously, Nick is a proven coach, and much is expected. To much, what does the Bible say? To whom much is given, much is expected. I heard Hoover say that the other day. So I'm sure much is expected. I can't wait to watch the Alabama-Auburn game. I know all of you guys want to see the LSU game, but I want to see Alabama-Auburn. I think that's going to be very interesting. Because it just so much riding, it seems like, in the state of here of Alabama.
Coach, like a lot of other schools, you recently decided to close practices to the public. Can you talk about that decision?
Yeah, we'll have most all of them closed, but we'll open a few times. We'll announce when they're open so our fans can come out possibly once a week and watch the guys go at it a little bit. And we'll have some, actually, in preseason, we'll have some scrimmages that will be open to the public also. Because I think it's important. I've always felt the players come in the stadium and get a few people in the stands and try to make it realistic like a real game because they get a little more nervous that way. And you need to see how they react in the stadium at times with some people in the stands. So we'll continue doing that.
We've got time for one more question.
On Saban in the Alabama position, there was a lot of talk about you being considered for that position. How real was that, and what was that period of time like for you in South Carolina and in your family?
Oh, I appreciate, as coaches, I think we all appreciate those rumors that happened, and University of Miami, that rumor circulated a while, and then the one here. But no, I really like South Carolina. I really like the challenge of trying to do things for the first time. I really do. I really feel we have a chance to win the Southeastern Conference Championship at South Carolina. For some reason, you go win it where they've already won it a bunch of times, and you're just doing what some other guys know. So, luckily, I'm in a situation to try to do something that's never been done before. So, I really like it.
Thank you.
I'm lucky to have that challenge. Yeah. All right.